Thanks for joining us here at Rose Quartz Mediumship podcast, where we simply adore anything and everything healing and metaphysically based. I want to tell you a story that started about 1.5 years ago. I went to a shamanic workshop with a shaman who is based out of Colombia and another shaman who is based out of Haiti. And the experience was absolutely delicious. It was mind-blowing in so many ways. And there's so much of that workshop that took me more than 1 year to fully understand and to integrate. And this lesson is finally beginning to feel more complete for me, which is why I wanted to share it with you. During the workshop, we were put into a frequency of healing. And the shaman, who's based out of Colombia, incorporated a lot of vibrational and frequency healing into the workshop. He sang, he played music, and it really was a profound experience for me. During that workshop, there was an aspect where all of the participants were asked to move their bodies in any way that felt good and true and right to them. And I can remember this moment of not caring what anyone else thought of the way that I was moving my body. And the invitation was there, and not everybody took it. And I will say that I was one of the first people who had the desire to move my body. And I moved it in ways that I'd never moved my body before. And there were aspects that felt so foreign to me. The freedom of movement and the fluidity of the way that my body was moving was something that I had never experienced before. And what was really interesting was that I didn't care what anyone else thought. And that was a level of freedom that I will never forget. Never. I can remember this moment where I was laying on the ground and began moving one of my arms underneath my body in this kind of rotation way. And the more that I did it, the more that I noticed that I was taking these enormous breaths, these huge sighs. And I wasn't trying to take these deep breaths. They were just happening for me. And I spent about an hour more or less rolling around in the area that I had decided to sit. And it was delicious. It was delicious. It was the first time in my life where I can remember not caring at all what anyone else thought of me. Not at all. It wasn't even a consideration. It didn't run through my mind. I was not thinking about what anyone else might be thinking of the way that I was moving my body. And I knew in the moment that I was releasing trauma. I knew it with every ounce of my being. And I didn't have a full understanding of what it was that I was releasing, but I knew that it was connected to body-based trauma and sexual-based trauma. And the more that I moved, and the more that I wiggled, and the more that I just allowed my body to do exactly what it wanted to do, the more free I felt, the more ease I felt, the more empowerment I felt. And like I said, this was about 1.5 years ago. And after that workshop, I ended up going through a somatic certification training, both a level 1 and a level 2. And in those trainings, I was taught a lot about the nervous system, which were concepts that I'd already worked with having my doctorate in physical therapy. But the material and the content was landing in a very different place for me. And so I really began to understand about how to work with the nervous system and to really understand how trauma is stored in our nervous system. And I can remember going back and thinking about that experience with those two shamans and how profound it had been, and knowing that there was so much somatic healing built into that 2-day workshop. I didn't fully understand all of the somatic healing that was built in there, but I knew that there was an extensive amount of somatic healing that was integrated into that workshop. And as I really sank into somatics and just how incredibly powerful somatics is, I began to understand that the human body is meant to move. And when we move without an ego, without caring what other people think about the way that our body moves, when we're unapologetic about it and when we are unrestricted in allowing our body to move, and I will tell you that it will look and feel funny in some aspects, because your body may want to move in ways that you just aren't sure why you're contorting yourself in that particular shape or position or posture or movement. But as you do that, a massive amount of trauma is being released from your nervous system. And the more that I have worked with this concept, and the more that I have allowed my body to move in whatever way it wants to move, sometimes it's very fluid and flowy and divine feminine in nature. And sometimes it feels fast and quick and slightly violent in how quick those movements are. But always, it is what my body is asking to do. And as I allow my body to do those movements, get into those postures, get into those positions, and be unrestricted, literally not care about why it is that my body wants to move in a particular way, I realize that I'm getting into postures and positions and movements that allow my nervous system and my body to release trauma. And when that happens, freedom, balance, empowerment are always a side effect of the movement. Because in the absence of that trauma, I am a much more congruent and authentic version of me. And my body is no longer holding on to that trauma. And then I watch how fluid my body moves after those sessions, after I'm willing to move my body any way that it wants. And recently I was sitting in meditation and really reflecting about why I was taking all of those big, deep breaths in that workshop. Purges of energy oftentimes look like spontaneous deep breaths, sighs, shaking, sweating, yawning. I was doing a ton of yawning also. Crying, sweating. They're all purges of energy out of your nervous system. And when we purge that energy out of our nervous system, it creates freedom. It creates ease. It creates regulation of our nervous system. And when we have regulation of our nervous system, it opens up doorways that we didn't even know were there. If you were staring in the woods and you could see 2 paths, and you released trauma out of your nervous system, you would see 2 million paths. And that is the magical part about somatic healing is that it opens millions of doorways, and possibility becomes something that is tangible and touchable and easy to see in a way that you can't explain until you've been through the experience. And so I really began to look at, how did my body want to move? And when I incorporated that into my daily practice, I realized that I found a different level of love for myself and my body. We are so restricted in the way that we are willing to hold our body, in the postures, in the positions, in the movements. We are taught from the time that we are very young that there is an acceptable and an unacceptable way to hold our body, to hold our posture, to move our body, to allow our body to move. And that's a very egoic and validation-based mindset. And when you begin to let that go, and when you allow your body to heal itself because it knows how to, your body is so intelligent. Your body is the best divination tool you'll ever own. Your body is the best healer that you will ever work with. And when you learn to listen to your body, and when you learn to speak the language of your body, and when you learn to allow your body to move in the way that it knows it needs to, whether that be random squats, whether that be wrist circles, whether that be hip circles, whether that be jumping up and down, whether that be slow, fluid dance, whatever it is, your body knows how to release emotions. But we get in the way of our body based mostly on social conditioning and societal norms. We've been taught that it's not acceptable to move in particular ways. And when we let that go, and when we lean into the fact that our body knows exactly what it needs to do to release this trauma and these emotions, and we allow, that is when you are going to experience a different level of freedom and also a different level of trust and surrender with your body. It knows how to heal. You just have to get out of the way and allow your body to do what it's supposed to do, what it knows how to do, what it was built to do. Your body knows how to shake to release energy. Your body knows how to cry and how to sweat and how to yawn to release energy and emotion that is stored in your nervous system. Your body knows. It is so wise. And it is one of the most deep, intelligent, wise mentors that you will ever work with. But you need to learn how to listen to it. And you need to learn how to allow your body to be the medicine that it is. And so I just want to invite you to commit to 30 days of at least 5 to 10 minutes a day of allowing your body to move any way it wants. And you can do this in the privacy of your own home, in your shower, in your kitchen, in your backyard, walking down the street, at the gym. I don't care how you do it. Whatever way feels authentic and aligned and safe for you. And for most of us, that requires some level of privacy in the beginning. No one is going to judge you for dancing or wiggling or moving in the shower. No one is going to judge you for sidestepping or hopping or flapping or hugging yourself in your kitchen. Find a space that feels safe to you. and integrate into your daily routine and daily practice 5 to 10 minutes of movement in whatever way your body wants to move. Be unrestricted in your movement. And I am willing to bet at the end of the 30 days, you're going to feel different. Thank you so much for joining us here at Rose Quartz Mediumship Podcast. I hope that you have a beautiful morning, day, evening, or night, wherever it is that this podcast